Hi everybody, thank you for joining me for today's yoga. Today is going to be a sequence to unwind, so a nice gentle flow. We're just focusing on stretching, we're not really building any strength today. There are no standing poses. We have one downward facing dog and the rest of our poses are kneeling or seated. You don't have to have any props for this practice, but I do have a block and I'll show you where you can use them if you like to use a block in your practice. We're going to start today in a comfortable seated position, so I'm going to sit cross-legged. You may choose to sit on your heels. Just do whatever feels good for you. You can rest your hands on your knees or maybe in your lap, letting your shoulders drop down away from the ears, maybe closing the eyes or lowering the gaze. And we're just going to take this moment at the start of our practice to center ourselves, connect with the body, and connect with the breath. So relaxing the forehead, relaxing the jaw, let the tongue drop down away from the roof of the mouth. Noticing if you're holding any areas of tension in the body. And starting to bring our awareness to our breath, so inhaling and exhaling through the nose. We'll take 10 rounds of breath together before we start to flow. Welcome to stay here with the eyes closed, or if you like to open them. We're going to shrug our shoulders up towards the ears and then roll them back and down. And again, shrugging those shoulders up towards the ears, roll them back and down. And one more time, up towards the ears, roll them back. This time, as we take them up towards the ears, we're going to roll forward. So taking them back, roll them up towards the ears, roll them forward. One final time, up towards the ears and roll them back and down. On our next inhale, we'll circle both arms up towards the ceiling. On an exhale, we'll drop our right hand down towards the floor beside us, reaching the left arm up and over, taking a side body stretch. Keeping that left hip down on the mat. If you're quite open, you may be able to come down onto your forearm and elbow, reaching those left fingertips away from you. Keep the chest rolling open. On our next inhale, we'll circle both arms up towards the ceiling. This time we'll take the left hand down to the floor beside us. Right arm reaches up and over, maybe coming down onto the forearm and elbow. And keeping the right hip down. Inhale to reach both arms up towards the ceiling. This time take the left hand onto the right knee, right fingertips come behind us, or maybe we can bring our hand onto the lower back if you prefer. Inhale to lift up out of the waist, exhale as we twist. If it feels okay here on the neck, you may be able to take your gaze over the right shoulder. Drawing that belly in towards the spine so you can twist a little deeper. Release from here, come back to center, reach both arms up towards the ceiling, and taking our right hand onto our left knee, left fingertips come onto the floor behind us, or maybe onto the lower back. Inhale to lift out the waist, exhale as we twist. release from here, coming back to center, reaching both arms up towards the ceiling. And exhale to circle them back and down. We'll come into a tabletop position. So bringing our wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And we'll just take our hips from side to side, just releasing the lower back. And then bring our hips back through to center, moving through some cat-cow. Inhale, drop the belly, tailbone lifts, chest comes forward, gaze is forward. Exhale as we round and contract, taking the chin towards the chest, hugging that belly in towards the spine. Inhale, that belly drops, tailbone lifts. Exhale as we round and contract. And 2 more times, move in with the rhythm of your own breath. Your next exhale, coming into a neutral spine. So we're going to bend at the right elbow. We're going to bring our fingertips to the side of the head with our palm facing down. On an inhale, we're going to take our right elbow up towards the ceiling, opening into the chest. Exhaling to release back down. Inhaling to lift that elbow. Exhaling to release. Inhaling to lift, working on the chest and upper back. Exhaling to release. One final time, inhaling to lift, exhaling to release. Release that right hand back down, we'll go the opposite side, so taking a bend into the left elbow, bring the fingertips to the side of the head with the palm facing down towards the mat. On an inhale, lift that elbow, opening into the chest, exhaling to lower, inhaling to lift, exhaling as we lower. 2 more times, inhaling to lift, exhaling as we lower. One final time, inhaling to lift, exhaling to lower. Releasing that left hand down, we'll come into our puppy pose. Keep the hips directly over the knees, walking the hands forward, releasing that chest down towards the mat, reaching those fingertips away from you. Maybe you bring your chin down onto the mat if it's okay for your neck, or you bring your forehead down onto the mat. Sinking those armpits down. To increase the stretch, you might want to come up on tented fingertips and lifting the elbows off the mat, sinking that chest a little deeper, hugging that belly in towards the spine. Option here to take a tricep stretch, so you can come into prayer hands, bring the palms of the hands together, and then taking the thumbs onto the back of the neck. Have your hands in prayer position, release the arms back down, and then start to walk our hands in towards us, lifting the chest back into our tabletop pose, and we'll make our way into a downward facing dog. So we'll walk our hands slightly in front of the shoulders, fingertips blade wide, tucking the toes. On an exhale, we'll send that tailbone high. Keep it bent in those legs. If your hamstrings and the backs of the legs are feeling tight, you might want to pedal out the feet, so dropping one heel down to the mat, bending into the opposite knee. Focusing on lengthening the spine, pressing down through the fingertips and knuckles of the hands. Making sure you're not holding any tension in the neck here. Gaze is towards the back of the mat, towards the legs. And then coming into some stillness with the legs. We'll lower our knees down to the mat, coming back into our tabletop pose. We'll bring our right leg out behind us, hip height pointing through the toes. Roll that hip down so the hip is pointing towards the mat. On an exhale, we'll bring the knee to nose, rounding through the upper back. Inhale to lengthen that leg out long. Exhale, bring the knee in towards the nose. Inhale to lengthen the leg out long. Final time, exhaling, knee to nose, hold it here. We're going to step the foot in between the hands. Option to lift the chest, move the hands out of the way any way you need to get the foot between the hands. Scooting that back knee back, pad it if you need to, making sure right knee is directly over the ankle. We're keeping the hands framing the front foot, sink the hips. feeling that nice lengthening down the front of the left thigh, the left hip flexor. Reaching the chest forward. And then releasing back into our tabletop pose. This time we'll take the left leg out behind us at hip height, roll the hip down, pointing through the toes. On an exhale, bring the knee in towards the nose, rounding through the upper back. Inhale to lengthen that leg out long. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, knee to nose. One more time. Inhaling to lengthen out long. Exhale, knee to nose. Hold it here. We're going to step the left foot in between the hands. Any way that you need to move to do that. Left knee is directly over the ankle. Scoot that back knee back. Sink those hips. Hands are framing the front foot. Release from here back into our tabletop pose, and we'll move through 2 rounds of cat-cow. Inhale and drop the belly, tailbone lifts, chest comes forward. Exhale to round and contract the chin in towards the chest. Inhale, belly drops, tailbone lifts. Exhale to round and contract. And then coming back into a neutral spine. So we'll do those curls again with the legs. So taking the right leg out long, hip rolls down, point through the toes. Exhale, knee comes in towards the nose. Inhale to lengthen that leg out long. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale to lengthen the leg out long. Exhale, knee to nose. One more time. Inhale the leg out long. Exhale, knee to nose. Hold it here. Step it in between hands. Scoot that back knee back. You can stay here, framing the front foot, or option, you can lift the chest and rest your hands one palm on top of the other on the thigh, sinking those hips. Seeing how this feels in the legs and the hips. And then release these hands down. To frame this front foot, we'll start to straighten into the right leg, coming into our half monkey split. So coming up onto the heel of the foot, draw the toes back towards you, folding down over this straight leg. Keep a slight bend in the knees. If your hamstrings are feeling tight, there's always an option. If your hands don't quite make the floor comfortably, you can rest your hands on a block. Try and keep those hips over that bent knee. If you want to go deeper, you just pull those toes back closer towards the shin. And we'll release from here. Start to bend into that front knee, walking the hands forward to frame the front foot. Take the right foot back. We'll go straight to the opposite side. Bringing the left leg out long, pointing through the toes. Exhale, knee comes in towards the nose, round through the upper back. Inhale, lengthen the leg out long. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, knee to nose. Hold it here. We're going to step the left foot in between the hands. Making sure left knee is directly over the ankle. Scoot the back knee back if you need to. If you're feeling okay, inhale in. Lift the chest, bring one hand on top of the other on the thigh, sinking those hips. If this is too much for the back knee, just bring your hands down to frame the front foot like we did in the first lunge. releasing these hands down to frame the front foot. We're going to straighten in to that left leg, coming up onto the heel, coming into our half monkey split. Remember, there's an option to use the block if your hands don't reach the mat comfortably. One hamstring may feel tighter than the other. Just see what feels good for you. Start to bend into this front knee, walking the hands forward to frame the front foot. We'll take that left leg back, so we're in our tabletop pose. Bring the big toes together, knees can be slightly apart or wider, sinking those hips back, laying the chest down across the thighs, coming into our child's pose. Bring our forehead down onto the mat, reaching the arms out long, letting those hips feel heavy. Start to bring our weight forward, so we're coming down onto our fronts. So bringing the hips forward and then bringing the hands underneath the shoulders with a bend into the elbows. On an inhale, we're going to lift into cobra, so starting to lift the chest, keeping a bend in those elbows, shoulders down away from the ears. Feel the stretch down the front of the body. Exhaling to release, and then pushing ourselves back so that we're sitting on our heels. And we'll bring our fingertips just behind us on the mat and coming into a baby camel. So we're going to start to draw those shoulders back, shoulder blades together, chest lifts, opening into the chest, maybe taking our gaze up towards the ceiling, noticing how this is feeling in the back. If it feels okay, you may want to lift the hips off the mat. If it feels alright in the neck, you may want to drop the head back too. Exhaling to lower. Bringing the chest forward, resting the hands on the thighs. Just taking a moment here before we go a second time. If anyone would like to take full camel, you're welcome to do so. So if you're coming into full camel, you're standing on the knees and you're tucking your heels under, or the feet can be flat on the floor. And then bringing our fingertips behind us. We're coming into baby camel. And we're sitting on the heels, stretching into the chest, drawing those shoulder blades together, taking our gaze up towards the ceiling. If it feels okay, you may want to lift the hips. Exhaling to lower those hips down. And we'll bring our legs out long. And we'll take a bend into our right knee, bringing it in towards the chest. And we're going to take a twist. So we're going to bring our right fingertips behind us. This time we're going to reach the left arm up towards the ceiling. We'll take a bend into the elbow and bring it to the outside of the right knee. Maybe taking our gaze over the right shoulder. If this is too uncomfortable, you can always just wrap your hand around the right thigh. Then releasing from here, bringing our chest back through to center. Release the right leg out long, take a bend into the left knee, bring it in towards the chest, bring our left fingertips behind us on the mat, reaching that right arm up towards the ceiling, taking a bend in the elbow, bringing it to the outside of the left knee, turning our chest over to the long edge of the mat, maybe taking our gaze over this left shoulder, drawing that belly in towards the spine. releasing from here, coming back through to centre, bringing the left leg out long. We'll take a bend into both knees, cross at the ankles, and we'll come to our hero pose. So instead of sitting back on the heels, we're going to sink the sitting bones in between the heels so that our heels to the outside of the hips. See how this feels in the knees. For some people it can be very uncomfortable. You can make it easier by sitting on a block, so you're just taking the pressure out of the knees and ankles, or you can bring one leg out long and you could do half hero pose. If you feel really comfortable like this, you can always take reclined hero. So we're going to start to walk our hands back, maybe coming down onto the elbows and forearms, seeing how this feels down the front of the thighs and in the ankles and knees. If this feels okay, you may be able to come all the way down onto the back. Seeing how this feels in your lower back. If it feels uncomfortable at all, come out of it. To release from here, you're going to support the lower back with one of your hands, coming up onto one elbow, and then using both hands to lift the chest. We'll bring our feet off to one side, and then bringing our soles of the feet on the mat, bending into the knees, making sure you've got enough room behind you, reaching those arms out long, and slowly with control rolling all the way down the spine until we bring our shoulders and the back of the head on the mat. And then maybe walking our heels in a little bit closer, arms down along beside us. You might be able to brush the back of the heels with your fingertips. We'll move through some bridge rolls. On an inhale, we're going to lift the hips and roll all the way up the spine, bringing the chest in towards the chin. The legs are engaged here, so pressing down through the soles of the feet. Glutes and hamstrings are engaged, hugging those thighs and knees in towards each other. On an exhale, slowly roll all the way down the spine until we bring our hips back down onto the mat. And we'll go again a second time. On an inhale, lift the hips, roll all the way up the spine. Gluing those feet into the mat. Exhale to roll all the way down the spine until we bring our hips down onto the mat. And then just taking our knees from side to side to release the lower back. And then we'll bring our arms out to shoulder height, cactus the arms if you don't quite have the room, and then bringing those knees in towards the chest. On our next exhale, we're going to drop our knees over to the left. Our gaze can come over to the right, or you can keep your gaze up towards the ceiling. If your knees don't quite come to the floor, you can make a fist with your left hand, place it underneath the left knee, or even use a block. Bring our knees in towards the chest. On an exhale, we'll drop our knees down to the right. Gaze comes over to the left. Bringing our knees back in towards the chest, wrapping our arms around the shins, taking our nose and forehead up towards the knee. You may want to rock gently from side to side, massaging the lower back. And then we'll come into a Shavasana. So your choice, you can stay seated, or you might like to lay out long on the mat. Bring our feet to the corners of the mat, letting the toes roll out wide, arms down long beside us with the palms facing up towards the ceiling. Close the eyes or lower the gaze. Having a scan through the body, seeing if you feel any different to how you felt when you first got on the mat. And then just enjoying these last few moments of practice. Just to keep that focus on you. Bringing your awareness back to the body lying on the mat, taking a little movement, maybe wiggling the fingers, wiggling the toes, and then gently drawing one knee in towards the chest, followed by the other. And you can roll to one side and use your hands to support you to lift, or you can hold onto the back of the thighs and rock yourself up to a seated position. Coming into cross-legged like we started. And then bringing our hands into prayer position at heart centre. Give yourselves a little thank you for making time to get on the mat today. I hope you enjoyed this relaxing practice. Bowing our forehead to our fingertips. Thank you, and thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.